Indie animation has been on the rise recently, and these shows are cooking, like Amazing Digital Circus and The Art of Murder, because people and Joe's millions are watching these shows. And their success is a giant middle finger to Hollywood's approach to the animation industry as a whole, all while attracting a whole new generation of audiences, new and old. But why are these indie shows finding success in a media landscape dominated by CGI box office giants and traditional adult animated sitcoms? It's simple. The staff behind it put passion and creativity first, and also they understand the landscape of animation itself and the issues that plague it, especially in the traditionalist landscape. So let's dive in, people! Before we get into why we love these indie shows so much, you have to go into the traditionalist process of how shows are made in general. For animated shows to be greenlit, it must be pitched first. You can use a series or a pitch deck to get the ball rolling, but most shows that are pitched don't see the light of day. For the most part, animation back in the 90s or 2000s took risks with animated projects. Some were good, others not so much. But networks today don't even take risks, and they're more cautious to hand out cash to animators because they want the investment to be profitable. Now, if you don't use the formulaic route of the usual archetype tropes in fiction, they're not going to greenlit your project. And I feel bad for the people who made the past pitch phase to make their pilots, but the pilots aren't aired for some reason or another. It doesn't help that Hollywood has been prolonging the conditions of laying off the animators, criminally underpaying them, and working them to the bone in subhuman conditions to get animated projects off the ground. I have a video that talks about that in this topic in the description below. But now these indie animators and artists are rising up, creating their own studios and creating beloved shows that challenge and rival those of the traditional network shows. We got Amazing Digital Circus, Lackadaisy, my underrated indie show that I love, Monkey Wrench, and let's not forget the new kid on the block, Art of Murder. And these studios will have big executives backing them. The money's coming out of pocket, just like Monkey Wrench's creator Josh and Ashley Palmer, for example. They use Patreons to pay their employees. But despite the risks these indie studios make, what makes these shows so interesting is their fun, exciting, and severe expectation. And a lot of them rely on the nostalgia factor, which brings audiences from all generations to come and watch it. But if you don't believe about why these indie animations are doing so well, let me introduce you to the people in the industry and why they believe indie animation is the new frontier. Kevin Temer, the lead animator for the Amazing Digital Circus, believes that although indie animation isn't a solution for the problems plaguing the animation industry as a whole, he does believe it presents new opportunities for studios to present new frameworks and lead by example. So in other words, these indie animation studios will create a landscape that defies the traditional norms. And also, not just that, there's also a wealth of content on YouTube and social media platforms in order to help people become self-taught artists. You can learn how to animate, to time frames, to storyboarding and all that. It's amazing, even how to use Blender. As said by Kevin Temer, there is a rise of younger artists who are self-taught because they go to YouTube and other social media platforms and learn how to draw, write, and even have quality work that rivals or is better than the people who's been veteran in the industries for years. As Hollywood media execs ignore a lot of the nostalgia factors that make people watch these shows, these indie producers don't, because they understand a lot of us love anime and put references to that in the shows as well as to Star Wars and the pop culture references, Evangelion, and the list goes on. And that's why people love it, because old generations who love these shows can relate to it. Although indie shows may not have a lot of financial backing and may rely on Patreon or other support to get them going or crowdfunding, let's remember this. A lot of these creators love working on these indie shows because it's more of an avenue for creative freedom and gives them more control over the shows and the way they want to portray their narrative in the story, which is a good thing because too much corporate interference ruins the pot. Look at the CEO behind Glitch Productions, the company behind the Amazing Digital Circus. Kevin Lerwichigal answered in an interview about why hasn't he reached out to streaming services. He said, and I quote, "We're entertained by the idea, but didn't move forward. One of the main ideas was to ensure creators can maintain creative control of the show. We generally feel that the creator is the beating heart of this show, and through their raw vision do we get fun concepts like the Digital Circus." Lord Wichigal understands that these creators are the lifeline of these shows, and without their creative input, these shows will be put to a grinding halt and won't be as fun. The best thing for indie creators is to give them their space and let them create some very innovative projects. I wish Hollywood had that mindset, but that's wishing way too much. I'm gonna be a pessimist right here because Hollywood's been doing the same thing for the past over 50 years and still doesn't get the formula. But speaking of creativity like Kevin did, let's dive into why creativity is the life and blood of these shows.
The creator wishes to be loved.
When it comes to artists and animators, creative freedom is integral to an artist's career. It allows them to have the ability to express themselves with unadulterated freedom. But corporate interference can stymie with that process, resulting in artists being annoyed and feeling unfulfilled and able to go full regalia. Yeah, I stole that line from Django. For artists and creators in the indie circuit feel as if they have more control over the work and prefer the life over mainstream animation. As Kevin Lord Wichigow put earlier, we have to support the creators and artists involved in the process. And Gooseworks happens to be that creator. Her influences to the show were integral to what it is today, because a lot of her influences stem from her childhood, such as weird toys, PC games, pre-rendered graphics. And as a 90s baby, the nostalgia is why I watched the show religiously. And if you don't believe me, Gooseworks even said, "It's clicking with people from my generation with the nostalgia blast I attended it to." As funny as the Amazing Digital Circus is, she also wanted a show that have emotional undertones. She wanted a show that was funny, but also provides a lot of emotional complexity. The horror elements that are in the show were unintentional, but they still worked out for the benefit of the show. Even though the show is CG animated, you can still see the 2D inspirations in the character models, especially with the facial exaggerations. Lead animator Kevin Temmer did this intentionally for the wacky and cartoony designs of the characters, because he was influenced by that aesthetic from Cloudy and the Chance of Meatballs, a movie he worked on previously. Man, said I like that. I'm bringing that to Digital Circus. But now let's cover the new kid on the block, The Art of Murder. The title is clever and I rock with it. This show is absolutely a blast because it pays homage to different styles of animation like the Disney Renaissance, which included the Disney princesses, Western animations, anime, and even gaming references like Ace Attorney that are thrown into the show. It's like a love letter to nostalgia with a mix of new elements thrown in. And we have to thank the imaginative sister duo, the Riley and Anoki Somaya, for this show. I'm sorry if I slaughtered your names. Both these sisters are veterans in the animation industry and have been working in it for over a decade. So creating their own animation studio called Chalk Chip was light work for them because they knew the ins and outs of the industry. Remember the show Rise to TMTT, Macho Glitch Text that I love and everyone knows of popular Sesame Street? Yeah, and Rowley worked in those shows. Fun fact, the studio name Chalk Chip is derived from their dogs Chalk and Chip, and I find that so adorable. Anyway, much of the show's aesthetic is derived from the 90s, 2000s animated cartoons and 90s anime shows that they watched during their childhood, which led them to become being animators. Anoki even promised her sister she'd make a 2D animation studio and her sister could work at the studio. That's the ultimate sibling bond. She made a real-life anime promise to her sister. When I make my own studio, you're the first one in. But the sisters were careful about how they approached the show. They were inspired by characters like Naruto, Disney movies, Beauty and the Beast, and princesses like Tiana and Ariel, but they didn't want to blatantly rip off the characters. Instead, they wanted to pay homage to these shows by doing something original, and there was a pump up of nostalgia. I respect these sisters because they did research for the show and went to fandoms and other territories of animation that they weren't familiar with. For instance, the detective character Sergio, yeah. He's based off of the research they did playing Ultimate Games, which is no mating games. It's pretty much like a reverse harem game, but more PG. It's a dating sim where guys fight with affection for one lady. You can see the inspirations they took, such as Sosuke being a tribute to Naruto. You can see Albi being inspired from the Disney princesses of the 90s, like Jasmine, Ariel, and Belle. And you can see Win, who's inspired by American cartoons, but pays so much to Finn and Jake. Look at that hat, that's Finn's hat. And the sisters didn't have to roast Boruto like this, like it was out of pocket, it had me die laughing on the floor. And this is why I love the sister duo, because they understand their audience.
Bring it on!
You think I'm going to do a video of indie animation and miss out Monkey Wrench? The show focuses on two bounty hunters, the high-strung and sugar-happy Shriek Sanchez and the calm and the voice of reason Bulldog Browns, who knows how to throw them hands as they embark on their intergalactic adventures. The people behind this masterpiece are none other than the husband and wife duo Josh and Ashley Palmer. Many of the influences centered around Josh's experience as an engineer and their shared love of anime, sci-fi, and comedy. And trust me, the comedy in this show had me rolling. Sanchez is out here giving people more middle fingers than Deadpool in all his movies. And I like Monkey Wrench because it's not raunchy, but does have some adult elements, but it's not overreaching like South Park or American Dad. A lot of the futuristic gunfights and ship designs you see are influences based off his love for Gundam, Tank Police, Angel Cop, and Outlaw Flippin' Star. Palmer, you my boy, you paid attention to classics. But what separates Josh from most of the people on this list is that he's a self-taught artist. He would religiously practice drawing mechanical parts as his job as an engineer, as well as using his resources from his father's study because his father was a graphic designer to make his work even better and improve his art. But amazingly, he was doing digital art at a time nobody else really doing it in the late 90s, early 2000s. But we all know digital animation changed the landscape for animators for the past 20 so years. But I digress. Josh Palmer is a talented animator because when I say this man goes to work, this man goes to work. He does most of the storyboarding, character designs, and backgrounds on his own. Just like doing half the production on your own. This man is a beast of an artist. If I need to work for any show, I'm signing him up immediately. And you can see the passion he has for the show in his characters and the environments and the backdrops in Monkey Wrench. But unfortunately, this show isn't as popular as the Amazing Digital Circus or Lackadaisy. And that's a shame, because this show has a lot of elements of 2000s cartoons that I like. And not just that, Josh is a very great animator and artist and knows how to create an engaging story. Because there's a lot of hidden plot points and elements in Monkey Wrench you would miss. And because the continuity and the plot points are so amazing how they connect, it's a great show. And it needs more love. And if you think it's all easy, here's the cost production just to animate 10 seconds. You see how much all of that is for just 1 second? And all that for 60 seconds? This man is using Patreon just to fund his love as an animator. We gotta support this man. And finally, for the coup de grace, let's get into Lackadaisy. I'm a sucker for shows and movies that depict the Prohibition era in the Roaring Twenties because of the lawless nature and the morally gray allegiances of the characters. But unlike the rest of the indie projects on this list, this pilot is an adaptation of a webcomic of the same name, made by Tracy Porter. To make a long story short, she was a biology major but always had a passion for the arts and quickly embarked on her arts career, working in several industries, including as an illustrator and concept artist for a small gaming studio. Her influence for Lackadaisy was because of her cast and the rich history of the home she moved into. In the comics, the Eisenhower Award winner, but I digress because the highlight of Lackadaisy is its early 20th century prohibition and jazz aesthetics. For the web pilot, we have to thank the crowdfunders that went over the goal of $330,000 and Iron Circus Animation, who worked on it with over 160 artists across the globe, and this was their first multimedia project they worked on. And last but not least, the lead animator, Fable Seagull, who worked on Epps Family, Ben 10, Hasman Hotel, threw his magic into the stew and brought the show to life. The rough character outlines that can be seen in the characters' faces is intentional. Fable left these elements in the pilot as stylistic choices, as he would put it. He did this as a statement. In his words, draftsmanship is the core concept of hand-drawn animation, but it's impossible and sometimes unwarranted to exercise the flaws that make it obvious. In other words, these outlines are integral to the process, so as he puts it, he embraces imperfections rather than hide them. And he knows what he's saying because Lackadaisy currently has over 50 million views and counting, so the art style is a definite selling point. The other creative liberty in the pilot takes inspiration from 2D hand-drawn animation from the 1980s and 1990s that Fabial and Tracy grew up on. The intention, similarly with The Art of Murder, was a tribute to the nostalgia of cartoons back in those times, the 1980s and 1990s, in terms of 2D animation. Fabial believes these styles of animations resonate subconsciously with audiences that are not familiar with these works. In other words, there's a nostalgia factor with these figures, and that makes us want to watch it. And he's not wrong because we're all suckers for nostalgia, and he's hitting all the right points. Siegel wanted to make the pilot vibrant, yet represent different aspects of the Roaring Twenties, so he and his team implemented different visual styles for the characters' imaginations of the town. The default monochrome background of Lackadaisy is Fabial's way, in his words, depicts the so-called real world. If you notice, the character sees the city through their own unique lenses, which is genius on Fabial's part, and the team's as well. Overall, this recent rise of indie animated shows are changing the landscape of animation as a whole. Not only does the advent of social media help spread these shows and share it to people who love it, it also has a nostalgia factor based on people of different eras, such as the 80s and 90s, who these shows resonate with, and creates an audience that, while niche, grows into a bigger audience. Moral of the video, indie animation is here to stay, and I hope more and more indie projects crop up and show these studios there's more than one way to make a great show. Alright people, you want a novel with action, adventures versus zombie genre? Read my book, Black Casket. You can get it off of Amazon for $12.99 for the paperback edition, or for the ebook for $5.99. But if you want to see the adventures of Radiant as he travels purgatory in order to find a way to resurrect himself, read this book. You will not be disappointed. It covers zombies with different mythologies, and it's a very exciting read. You can find the link on my TikTok bio or my YouTube bio. Click on it, it'll take you straight to my Linktree page. Then after that, just click on Black Casket. It'll take you directly to the book. What makes my book different is that it makes zombies as sentient creatures instead of these mindless zombies. They have thoughts and opinions and think about the consequences of their actions and how it affects the world outside of them. Thank you and have a wonderful day.